Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Wednesday. We'll have JC, and then we'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel get his thoughts on what's going on. Not a whole lot going on in the sports world right now, but it cranks up tomorrow with the National Football League. I do want to give a shout out to Wyatt Langford. I just got a text from a good friend, Tony, who I think Tony's lived all over the world, but I think he lives up in Virginia now. Check this out, JC. By the way, you're on the Titan No More hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. How's that feel?
Unbelievable feeling this early in the morning. Incredible.
Yes. You look like you had a rough night, JC.
Well, no. I watched tennis. I watched tennis pretty late. I love watching.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we'll get into the tennis thing. Why they play till 2:00 in the morning?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Horrible that they made Arena Sabalenka and some other lady.
Well, I don't know why
midnight.
they can't format a tournament where people don't play after 10:00. All right. Back to the text. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Wyatt Langford is only the second player in Major League Baseball history to have one, hit for the cycle, two, hit an inside the park home run, three, hit a grand slam all in the same year.
Wow.
The only other player to ever do that was in 1948, JC. Who would you guess it would be?
In 1948, I would say it would be Jackie Robinson.
How the hell did you know that? You must have watched SportsCenter or something.
I have no idea. You said 1948. That's the only reason. If you had,
all right, yeah. So yeah. I mean, but think about that. That is incredible. Congratulations to Wyatt.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not followed baseball. I don't really start until the playoffs start. He's got to be the rookie of the year, right?
Well, no, I think they're going to give it to Paul Skeens, but yes, otherwise he would be.
Well, and I thought they do like an AL and an NL.
Oh, okay. Perhaps, maybe so. Yeah, that's a good question, but I agree with you. These guys made an impact for the defending World Series champions. They're not going to make the playoffs this year, but he's with a great organization, great manager, and they'll get it back. They're a good organization, very strong organization. Texas.
Tony, not the Tony that sent me the text from Virginia, but Tony on the Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law wants to know, JC, did you get hammered last night?
No, I'm totally fine. It's just it's just late night tennis, dog running around everywhere. It's I got to do laundry. A lot happening here.
A lot happening. All right.
Did I get hammered last night? What? Hey, QB, by the way, our picks, here they are. I found them. I had Southern Cal. So I did.
No, you did not. Not on this show. You did not. You picked LSU.
QB, no.
You picked LSU. You picked
right
LSU.
QB,
We'll go back to the tape. We'll go back to the tape.
I wrote down Southern Cal here.
No, because I picked Southern Cal, and you were giving me crap for not being an SEC homer.
Well, you went 1-4.
No, I didn't.
You lost Clemson. You lost West Virginia. You lost South Dakota State. And
I forgot about those games. It must have been another show where I picked Old Dominion.
Yes, it was another show, QB.
Yeah.
It was another show.
Okay.
Get your shows right, QB. Get your shows right.
Well, Old Dominion was my favorite pick of the week. I thought they'd win the game outright.
Well, we didn't pick that game. Sorry. I'll pick every SEC game from now on. We'll do every single SEC.
No, you don't have to. But you did, for a fact, pick the LSU Tigers.
It's right here.
That doesn't mean a damn thing.
What do you mean?
I wrote it down wrong.
I wrote it down wrong?
Yeah, because you specifically picked. We were opposite on those sides. You couldn't believe I took USC. Doesn't matter. What does it matter?
I don't know. I guess it doesn't.
Jim wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, how can we salvage the recruiting class and players we already have while doing coach search? Or are we starting over? Look, here's the deal. When it comes to recruiting, I could care less about recruiting. All I care about is winning football games. If you win football games, recruiting will take care of itself.
What if you don't win football games?
What's that?
What if you don't win football games?
I just said recruiting takes care of itself if you win games. If you
Right.
lose games, recruiting takes care of itself, meaning those kids are going to go somewhere else.
This just feels so much like Scott Frost at Nebraska, Clay Helton at USC, Muschamp, John James Fisher at A&M this early in the season. I know it's one game. Everybody overreacts after the first game, but we haven't overreacted. This is 25 games we've seen this guy. And even though the first season had a lousy roster, blah, 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 it's the same. And, QB, here's what my solution is. And even though we can't really do anything about it right now because I am convinced that he's going nowhere, I think that the Gators, and I've said this before, the University of Florida needs to hire a Florida Gator. There's only been one guy who's won at this school that was not a Florida Gator, and he won 2 natties. He won 3 SECs or something like that. And he was only here for 5 years, dude. He was only here for 5 years. But the only guy to win here was a Florida Gator. To me, it requires you to go get a Florida Gator. Who the hell cares that this guy said no to Auburn? My God, that was the most dysfunctional university in terms of coaches in existence. So, they had to pay him $7 million. They had to give him a 7-year contract because they had to have him because he had a great record at Louisiana. Dear God, if that's what our qualifications are now, win at Louisiana and you get a job at Florida. What the University of Florida ought to start doing instead of recycling coaches every 3 years is instead of saying, here's 7 years and the entire bank, we're going to give you 3 years, pay you $9 million, and you're coming to Florida. And if it works out, you get to stay. If it doesn't work out, we'll try something else. But we won't be bankrupting our program by paying these underqualified guys to come here for $7 freaking million a year. It's the most asinine concept in history where you pay somebody before they perform, and then when they fail, you pay them.
But JC,
it's ridiculous.
That happens at every school.
I know, but it's
not just the Gators.
But it doesn't have to happen here. You could call anybody who plays at the University of Florida. How about that guy Tebow? He's got a freaking statue out there and a sign up at the top of the stadium. Hey, Tim, coach the Gators.
Well, we don't want him coaching. We'd rather have Kerwin coaching for Tim.
Well, great, but he's 60 and he's not coming. The thing is
I know that, but I'm just saying that you're talking when you talk coaching that there's no comparison there.
Is it going to get worse? Could it get worse than this?
No. But somebody asked me here.
Please, could it get worse? Could it get worse?
What I'm saying is, I hear what you're saying, but that the contracts are like this at every school. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's nice. It's the dumbest concept in business history. It's a terrible way to conduct business. This guy should say, "Hey, man, I'll work at Florida for $3 million, and if I do well, extend me. Go ahead." But to just flat out give him $7-something million, and he's done absolutely nothing in his career other than coach some school down there in the swamp in Louisiana.
Right, but again, JC, I understand where you're going with this, and I know everybody's upset, but this happens at every SEC school and every Big Ten school. It's not just Florida.
Well, it's not.
Matt says Tebow isn't a coach; he's a life coach. Yes, but not a football.
I get it. I
agree with that 1,000%.
Okay, forget the fact that I said Tebow. How about somebody who was a former Florida Gator? Remember,
well, there's only one.
Well, there's only one today, but there could be another if you give it a shot. What could it hurt? I mean, let's get a Gator in here. Let's get a guy this guy doesn't even know where Crescent Beach is. Somebody told me the other day on the phone that this dude doesn't even know where Crescent Beach is, or that, that's where people go. It's just that this guy is not connected to this place. And if he is, it's a hell of a way to show it on Saturdays. So
okay, so Brandon says, Shane, but we didn't have to pay him that amount of money. I agree. I'm not going to get into the contract stuff because I think whatever Nick Saban was making, even with all the national titles he won, was ridiculous. Okay,
Brian Kelly gets $11 million.
Coaching is the greatest profession to get in.
Yeah,
if you can handle the nonsense, if you can handle the pressure, because if you win, you're going to get a lot more money. If you lose, you're going to get fired and get a lot of money. Okay, it's the best profession to be in. I mean, that's the facts.
Insanity.
So it doesn't matter if it's the University of Florida, if it's Michigan, if it's Arizona, wherever.
I know.
It is what it is.
Spouting at the top of the kettle here, but look, man. This is Scott Frost. This is John James Fisher. It feels like this early in the year already.
Megan says something. Did I really say that about recruiting? Look, if you ever watch my show, I could give two craps about recruiting. I don't talk about it.
You do have Graham Hall on. You do have a lot of guys.
Right. They talk about it. But my point is, look, recruiting all now is about winning and getting paid the most money. That's all it is. And look, here's the thing. People are giving Dabo. I saw a thing giving Dabo a lot of crap about not having any transfer portal guys. Look at all the money that the Florida State Seminoles spent on the transfer portal and supposedly paid their quarterback $1 million and their defensive line an absurd amount of money, and they're not playing very well. No. Now, they may turn it around, but I'm telling you, I feel like now, let's just use because Coach Spur and I were talking about this. He's like, Mike Norvell and them can't put what's his name on the bench because they're paying him too much money. Think about that.
Well, that's just a lousy way to run a program. But
I think that's how it's going to be in today's college with these kids making so much money, man.
Florida State. Florida State extended Norvell because they had a good year last year. But somebody asked me, said, "Who would you rather be right now, Florida or Florida State?"
Well, they're both in a bad situation.
I think the answer is I would rather be Florida State, even though they're 0-2. But I just don't know what the answer. Well, I do know what the answer is. I've already said it. But I think that it's impossible right now, given the situation. We spoke about this on Monday, that there's going to be any change here anytime soon because the president's position is tenuous in that it is temporary. They're not going to do anything until a new guy gets here. It may expedite the process of finding a new president. Let me just tell you this, JC.
It
could do that.
You're back to the contracts.
I'm back to the situation in Florida.
If there is a new coach, whether it's this year, next year, whenever, the contract will be more than what Billy's making now. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well.
All right, Nicole says on Facebook Live, the head ball coach needs to come out of retirement to help us. Well, let's get Emmitt Smith. Would you want Emmitt coaching your team?
I want a former Gator to lead the Gators.
Okay,
that's not hard. Go find an offensive lineman to do it. Go find a defense. Go find somebody like that. Go find somebody that knows what the hell that they would has some, that doesn't just hire half the unemployed people to fill up a bloated staff and lose on Saturday. I don't need that anymore.
Let me just say this. I understand. Because people are throwing Tebow's name out, Emmitt's name out.
Anybody, just give me a former Gator.
Listen, I get that, people.
How about you?
As much as I love coaching football, as much as I can be critical,
how about you?
No.
Okay, but my point is, if I wrote you a check for $4.5 million today, you're not the coach of the Florida Gators.
You have to talk to me at the beginning of next year. Here's the thing: nobody can go in and do anything right now because people don't understand.
I know.
You can't learn the terminology or any of that stuff.
I know. I get it.
Let me just go back. I played with a lot of really good football players in the National Football League and a lot of good football players at Florida. Just because they're a good football player does not mean they can coach football. Okay.
I just said a former Gator, QB.
I just want to leave it at that, though.
Okay, but give me.
But I'm saying just because a guy scored a bunch of touchdowns or made a bunch of tackles does not mean he can coach football.
And guess what? Just because you were an assistant under Nick Saban does not mean you're a good head coach.
I agree with that. Look, here's the thing. I say this all the time. We talked about offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Just because you have that letter, OC or DC, by your name, whether you're at Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, or wherever, does not mean you're really that great of a OC or DC. I mean, somebody has to have that title, right?
Yes.
So, man, because I try to tell people, JC, remember 2 years ago, Georgia played TCU for the national title, correct?
Yeah, that was awful.
Who was the hottest name out there?
Sonny Dykes.
He was the head coach, but Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's little brother, was
Riley.
The OC. Okay.
Yeah.
So he gets paid a lot of money by Clemson to go over there and help their offense.
I know.
The point to the story is sometimes it is what it is. You strike lightning in a ball or whatever. But anyway, we're getting on another tangent here.
Well, this has happened though for the last 15 years since 2010. They're just recycling guys because they're missing on the target. They're missing their guy when they hire them. They're getting the wrong guys, and that's what fans are frustrated about.
This cracks me up. Conyer Ron on YouTube says, "My dad's ideas have Spurrier mentored Tebow as the head coach for 3 years, then Tim takes over." All right, look.
What did I start here? I mean,
well, it's nonsense. Because let me just tell y'all this.
Okay.
I've said this multiple times on this program.
On Saturday against that school from down south. That's nonsense.
Okay. So again, just because you're a great player does not mean you're a good coach.
Okay.
And nobody will ever change my mind on this.
All right.
and I firmly believe this. JC,
Yes.
Coach Spurrier could take you. He could take Tim Tebow. He could take Rex Grossman. Name whatever player you want. Y'all can go for a month to some island and study football for freaking 10 hours a day. Okay. That doesn't mean because you just learn from Steve Spurrier that you're going to be able to do it on game day and how to coach it. There's an instinct that great quarterbacks have. Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's an instinct that great coaches have.
Mm-hmm.
There's an instinct that play callers have.
Mm-hmm.
There's an instinct and God-given ability that the great quarterbacks have or the great running backs have. Just because that's what blows my mind is people just think that you can just learn under this guy and then go do it. We have fully been aware of that at the University of Florida with the Nick Saban experiment, right?
Well, I mean, Will Muschamp learned under Mac Brown. I mean, it's not that Jim McElwain.
Will Muschamp did not learn under Mac Brown.
Wasn't he the coach?
Well, he did, but
okay.
But he's a Nick Saban guy. Is my point.
Jim McElwain learned. He was Nick Saban's OC.
My point is, none of it's worked out.
Right? No, 100%. I get it. That's why you don't hire him, and that's why you don't give him $8 million a year. That's why, because you don't know. That's why you don't give them that kind of. I don't care what the other schools are giving these guys.
Every school does it, though. That's my point.
Whatever.
That's the coaching profession.
It's Clark Lee. Well, okay, then that's fine. Then you're stuck, folks. You're going to be paying for it for the.
It's going to be costly. There's no question.
Wow.
And then the next coach is going to cost a lot of money.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
So JV, some JV guy says Brian Schottenheimer studied under the HBC. He did. Okay. So Shotty, I love Shotty, and Shotty's done a good job at certain places, but Shotty's been fired 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
So look, there's people that have studied under them and gone on and had jobs, but you people want the best there is, and you want the Urban, and you want the Spurrier. Okay, as I said, those dudes don't fall off trees.
Dude, I think Gator fans have gotten to the point where they'll just settle for average right now, but they are sick and damn tired of the same story every single
Well, there's weekend. No question about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some tighten up our text lines here.
And if he goes 10-1, if he goes 10-1 the rest of the year, I'll admit I'm wrong. But you know that's not happening. I know that's not happening, and he knows that's not happening. It's not happening.
Daryl says the lady that cuts my hair asked me if I get all bent out of shape like her son does if the Gators lose. I told her there ain't a damn thing I can do about it. It's just like politics. Just vote. I agree. That's my thought. Chris in Cottondale says, I have a question for Shane and JC, assuming we have a coaching search. Lane is the first choice. I would take Kerwin, but as you said, I don't think the powers that be will go that route. What about Alex Golish at USF? Spread offense based on speed and tempo. Think it would be good for us going forward. I think he does a good job there. JC probably know who that is.
I know exactly who he is. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa Saturday.
Where did he come from, JC? Do you know where he came from?
Alex Golish. Well, no, I can't give you his resume, but I know he's the coach of South Florida. And, at least they know how to score. But listen, I think, everybody knows what I think. So I think we need to hire a Florida Gator, whoever that is. You don't have to pay him $10 million. You don't. I mean, LSU's paying Brian Kelly $11 million. They're not happy. But I just think that, I just think it could happen here if you wanted it to and make some better decisions. And don't just take some guy whose name is hot because he won 4 years in the Sun Belt. That's the asinine.
All right.
That's crazy.
PMB BTR, whatever that means. He says, JC is overreacting. UF cannot change the market for coaches. Y'all are not overreacting to the team stuck in the mud, lack of improvement under Napier. I agree with that. Urban had no connection to Florida and won twice as many national championships as the HBC.
I said that. I said there's only been one guy who's not a Gator who's won here. He lasted 5 years. That's it. 5. That's all he did. And, what's wrong with the concept of bringing – look, Georgia brought home one of their guys, okay? I could go through plenty of schools if I thought about it for a few minutes that brought home their own people and coached their programs. And I think it's a concept that ought to be considered. Why wouldn't we consider it at this point? My God, you've been recycling coaches for 15 years, QB.
Justin says, I love how the fans hate on the Napier hire and then they continue throwing out group of 5 head coach candidates.
Well, no.
Yeah. Whoever this is from the 252 area code wants to know when my club championship is. We don't have a club championship at the UF golf course. 336 area code says, I agree with JC. We need a Gator. Let's get Shannon Kerwin at the same time. Well,
Get me a
look,
Gator.
I would love to have I can tell you right now, Kerwin is as good a football coach as I've ever been around, not because he's one of my best friends.
Well,
but look, we've been beating that horse, JC, for 25 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
okay.
we have.
Well,
and it's a shame because wonder what could have happened if they listened to lowly radio guys who did a morning show on 105 The Game back in 2010. Just think, who knows? He could still be here. They could have been competing for championships. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You just
All
never.
Right, let me get a couple of these Facebook lives. Let me give a read. How about that, JC? F45 training merges 3 leading edge fitness training styles into one for functional training. Visit F45training.com to learn.
And by
more.
the way,
you going to go do some F45, JC?
No, but I will tell you this. Not only does he not know what Crescent Beach is, they don't have basements in Florida, bro. That's called the aquifer. We got that underneath the ground. There are no basements in Florida, QB. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, there are no basements in Florida. Just another thing this guy doesn't know.
Greg wants to know, why is Dez starting? I don't know. He has no business being on the field. Nothing against him.
Again,
Joseph says, Shane Matthews, there ain't a chance in hell you turn down one of those lucrative contracts you
have. Oh, he knows it. You're right.
I will tell you this, though.
He's absolutely right. You wouldn't.
I would continue playing my golf whether they liked it or not.
Would that be
the head ball coach used to play golf?
So
he used to go to the country club a couple hours before practice started.
So if Clemson hires you, you're gonna make sure you get that membership at somewhere, right?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm too old to be coaching. I'm trying to find the one that I was looking for here.
Oh, she whiz.
I can't find it. Anyway,
there's no basements in Florida, QB.
I'm very aware of that, JC.
You are, at least. Yeah.
All right, Reggie says. Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Mellon. UF might be able to use the Rashada issue to get out of the contract buyout. I bet the lawyers are looking at every word on that contract. They probably are.
Forget it. They owe him $26 million, and that's why he's not going anywhere. That's the biggest reason. The other one is the situation at the top of the chain, and that's the president. So, QB, Florida State and Clemson are 0-4 since they filed a lawsuit since they filed that lawsuit against the ACC. Their average margin of loss is 27 points. So, if the ACC lost Florida State and Clemson, I wonder if they would even try to get damages at this point right now. They're 0-4, both those schools. 0-4 since the lawsuit, okay? 0-4. And Clemson's 0-4 since they filed that lawsuit, along with Florida State, against the ACC. And they're not winning the ACC. I know it was Georgia. They're not as bad as they looked. They're salty on defense. I still think Miami, Georgia Tech, and maybe someone else. But Clemson,
I don't think Georgia Tech. I mean,
you think Clemson?
It's going to be between Clemson and Miami, and I don't think they play each other, so they'd play in the championship game.
No, they do not play each other. Miami's they're like Notre Dame right now. They look at the schedule.
Notre Dame's got the easiest schedule.
Wow.
You could go ahead and pencil them in as like the 2 seed.
No, they could only be the 5 seed, QB. They cannot be a top 4 seed. But they will have a home game in South Bend, and they will not have a conference championship game to play in. So they'll basically get an off week before that home playoff game in South Bend in December. Think about how cool that will be. A home game in December in South Bend without having to play a conference championship game the week before like the other 4 teams do. The only top 4 seeds can be the Power 4 champions. That's who the top 4 seeds
Carrie Petty, I almost said Katy Perry, says here on Facebook Live, I personally would make the first phone call to Urban Meyer, at least to see if he would turn it down.
Yeah.
Then get Lane because he's matured and he knows offense. He would also bring in great assistance. I don't think the Urban Meyer thing is even
That's not even a possibility. And I Lane, we hear Lane this, Lane that. Lane's got a job at Mississippi. And
so look,
he's very happy there.
Here's the bottom line. Regardless of how the rest of the season goes,
don't expect anything.
Nobody can even think about. I mean, first of all, if it's Lane is not even going to be I mean, I know Lane wants the Florida job. He's always wanted it. It's supposedly his dream job. Okay.
Yeah.
But Lane is trying to do something at Ole Miss that has never been done.
Yeah. Win a conference, win the SEC, go to the Atlanta game. That's never been done. That's the first thing they want to do. They want to go to Atlanta. That's the first thing they want to do. They're going to make the playoffs with their schedule, looking at what it looks like. I mean, you got Georgia at home and you got a couple other games, but that looks like a great opportunity there at Ole Miss. Great opportunity.
I like listening to these, reading all these comments. We appreciate y'all chiming in.
Well, read one.
There's way too many of them. I mean, there's thousands.
Well,
thousands and thousands.
That's all. You're breaking ratings records right now, QB. Look what losing does to your program here. I mean, my goodness.
I've always said losing is the best thing for sports talk radio.
I mean, I guess it is. A lot of folks want to hear somebody say what they're thinking. I'm okay with that because I have no conflict of interest here.
Jerry wants Gus Malzahn as the head coach.
Why is that?
Well, he's just throwing a name out there. I mean, it's like there's not one name that's going to make everybody happy.
No, there's not. But there would be, and I think we already mentioned him. But it's not going to happen. He was here for 5 years. He's not coming back. But Gus will be here in a couple of weeks.
Let me ask you this, JC. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say if they were sitting in a room and they both said, "I want the job," and contract wasn't an issue, would you rather have Lane Kiffin or Urban as your head coach?
I'd rather have Lane Kiffin.
Yeah,
because I think Lane's into it more. Urban has been there. He's done it. He's turned programs around. He's won championships. He's had issues, though. He's had a lot of issues. And I think he loves his life being stress-free at this point. So I think I'd rather go for the young guy that's got a lot to still prove, but is heading in the right direction at a school with an enrollment of about 20,000. I love that. And, that's a small school, dude. Oxford. It's not big. It's not big at all. And they're winning. They're winning games. And they're going to have a hell of a – look, I will agree with this. You don't learn anything about your team when you win 73-0. You don't learn anything about your team when you win 63-0. Brian Kelly at least learned a lot about his LSU team, and they can go forward from here. And I still think LSU is going to be a factor in this conference and for the college football playoff at some point. I think it's very conceivable to see 4 or 5 teams out of this league get into the playoffs, as you can imagine. And don't count Missouri out. Nobody's even talking about them right now. So this league is loaded. There's no other league of relevance. And this weekend, you're going to see what Texas is going to do to Michigan at noon up there in the house when Michigan has a trouble converting on third down against Texas. And then Texas is going to get the ball, have field position, and as good as Michigan is on defense, and they are still damn good on defense. And by the way, that kid from Michigan that transferred to Alabama had 2 interceptions the other night. Sab. Love that. But anyway, Michigan is not going to be able to keep up with Texas. So that's going to be another SEC footprint in this early part of the season that people are going to remember when it comes down to talking about resume.
Here's what Christopher says. So Billy's offense is much better with a dual threat QB, but he went out and got a guy who's a pocket passer and emerged. Start like, look, again, I'm just saying this. I'm not against dual threats because I think if you use them right, you can do a lot of things. Look at Jaden Daniels. But it's still the problem from play calling. I go back to Florida State. I have not thought Florida State was very good offensively ever since Norvell's been there. I've said it on this show. I look like an idiot because of what Jordan Travis did. Yeah. But Jordan Travis made plays because he just dropped back and run around. Okay?
Well, he also had
not
offense.
That's not offense, Coleman, people. QB. That's
not
but
offense. He had some wide receivers there, man.
No. I'm not taking that away.
Yeah.
But I whether it's DJ Lagway that runs for 18 yards on a play or it's the Middle Tennessee State quarterback or whoever, that's not offense. That's just a guy playing out in the backyard. When I'm talking about scheming up and calling the right stuff and motions and formation. Anyway, DJ's going to run around on Sanford. There's no question about that. But people are going to think that solved the play calling or the design or all that. I don't know if it is or not, because I've been saying it about Florida State. And if they don't have a guy back there that can run around and just take off running, which I just don't think that's offense. So
no, it's not. It's not. But these coaches, like you say, they think they can turn these kids into something that maybe they are not.
Right. But what I'm saying is, in some people just need a guy who can bail them out when they don't call stuff right. All right. Last text here, and we'll get out of here. This is Monty from Lynchburg, Virginia, on the Titan Mar text line. I can't help but think these players and coaches have enough pride to turn things around. I just think they just got so wrapped up in their own hype prior to the Miami game that they just expected to roll over them. Yeah. We'll see.
By the way, I'm taking the Ravens +3 tomorrow night on.
I was gonna, we meant to do that on the Peachland Dental picks. That line makes no sense to me.
It's the NFL first week. Dude.
I know, but you got the champs at home. They should be like a 6 point. I like the Ravens as well.
Yeah, we'll take Baltimore, take the 3, see how that works out for us. Lamar Jackson. How many more times All right, well, let's hear Edgar. Right. See what Edgar's got to say. I want to hear what Edgar's got to say.
That's JC on the Titan Mar hotline.
Tell Edgar we need a Gator to coach.
Take a quick timeout. We'll be right back. You're watching and listening to PodUp.
All right, Edgar.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogra State Farm, Electronics World, F45. Our touchdown sponsors, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Hoping for another Rangers walk-off. And that is pounded deep out to left.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogra State Farm office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ograinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. There's Wyatt Langford hitting his walk-off grand slam last night. We're going to go back to a guy who probably used to rake back in the wiffle ball days in his backyard. How many walk-off grand slams did you hit in wiffle ball, Edgar?
Probably some in that, but I wasn't great. I kind of didn't. I got a little scared standing in the box.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was like in football, didn't have any. I mean, I go break the wedge. I was that guy. They just get to do all the crazy stuff. But in baseball, man, that ball just made me a little nervous when it was moving. Yeah, Wyatt, I tell you, I remember the Vanderbilt series, May 2 years ago. I went and covered that one. I don't cover a ton of baseball till later in the season, and I'm just watching him for some reason, just kind of focused in on him. And man, he ripped one over left field, and just his bat speed, and just, I was like, man, that guy's a legit guy, and he's proving it really quickly.
No doubt about it. All right, Edgar, give me your thoughts on what you saw in the swamp on Saturday.
I mean, it was an abomination on every level. I mean, yes, Joe Houston's improved special teams. I'll leave it at that.
That was only positive.
couple of guys. I mean, Pop Howard, I think, is showing he merits more than 30 snaps a game. I really don't understand how you play him less than half that football game. This rotational thing, I understand.
It drives me insane.
Heat. One of the other writers, remain nameless, I made a comment, oh, it's hot. And I'm like, okay. These guys are 20 years old. They lift weights and run all day long, and they train in this stuff. This is what they're made for. And you can't play the guy more than 30 snaps. I didn't really get that one. He was good. The Badger flashed. DK was nice on special teams. I think he was getting open some. The ball wasn't coming to him. And they're not a whole lot. Montrell, coming off a knee injury, ran pretty effective. I mean, a couple of plays. But Miami was just a good team. They might be the third best team on the schedule.
They could be. We'll see. I was impressed with them. Edgar, let me ask you this, because a bunch of people were asking here about the rotation. Has anyone asked Billy why we play so many players? Does he give the old, we want to keep people fresh, or I personally think it's to keep people happy, or however you want to phrase it.
Sure.
I am so against that. As you said, they train all summer, play your best players till they're tired. And they need like one play off.
Dude, we were talking on the phone, weren't we, the other day? And I was talking about being 20. I mean, 20, you're just a machine. I mean, right? It's just like you forget like how just resilient you are and how much endurance you have, and you can play 3-4 hours of full court hoops and go out all night and go work, or it's just like you have so much energy. And these are the ultimate 20-year-old physical specimens. They can play.
I don't understand it.
And plus the TV timeouts are so long. Mm-hmm. My God, I can take a nap during those things. And when you're telling me they can't get their breath back then, yeah, I agree with you. There's a transfer portal element to some of it. Kirby Smart talked about this last year on the SEC teleconference. He said, you got to play some of these guys, keep them interested. And I think that's why Billy was doing a lot of that on special teams last year, and it bit him in the butt with some of these young guys making mistakes, like Dijon Johnson hurdling the guy at Kentucky. Remember that one? Mm-hmm. And it was a penalty in first play. Ray Davis went like 75 or 80 yards. So you play these young guys on special teams, they make mistakes. I don't know, man. I'm not for it. Billy did talk about that you earn your snaps at practice, was his comment.
Rob says on YouTube, someone tells Sark and Kirby they are wasting money on recruiting. Just hire Tebow and bring in the 3 stars. I don't know what that means. So, Edgar, where do we go from here?
That sounds like a guy tweeting from his basement in Central Florida.
Yeah, that was not a very smart tweet.
Where do we go from here? Well, you get Sanford. I think look, you've had concussions. I had one, I think, that it was kind of unidentified. That was back when that was happening, and just felt crappy an entire week. You just don't feel good. You got headaches. So I feel for Graham, but this is still like the Montrell Johnson thing. He kept talking about, hey, this could be a blessing because you're getting other guys work that wouldn't have gotten it. Well, you get DJ Lagway an entire week to prepare. You see how he handles it. You see how he goes out, certainly against an overmatched opponent, and handles it. And if he looks terrific, suddenly you may have an option. I'm not saying you pull out the hook and put Graham Mertz on the bench. But if he starts playing shaky like he did after the start the other day, I think he started 5 of 6 and then just like was just missing throws. He did not look comfortable. Now I understand the offensive line, is not very good, especially on the right side, and particularly on the right side. And Miami's good. So, and then you got an option. But you're not throwing DJ Lagway out against Mike Elko on the, starting a game. That guy's a brilliant defensive mind. He would have his head twisted and he's going to lose confidence. So, but if Graham's struggling and you need a spark, you got one now if he can handle it.
Yeah, it's I mean, look, DJ's he's gonna run around and make plays. What surprised me is you said, and this is what I still don't understand. I talk about it all the time. We don't have a whole lot of easy throws. I'm not talking about the bubble screens, the wide. I'm talking about, if you go back and you look at the little option route they gave number 7 for Miami, 5-yard completion. He makes 3 guys miss, now it's 70-yard gain. 2 of my favorite plays of the game was when DJ came in the game, they called slants for him. He threw a slant to his left to Wilson, and I think a slant to his right to Wilson.
Yeah,
but the ball's out of your hand. It's an easy throw, especially against man coverage. We don't call that's a first down play on your first drive, and you continue coming back to those easy throws. I mean, Cam Ward threw a couple of hitches on us. I mean, you can't throw a hitch when they press you, but you can throw slants. So those were, I mean, a lot of people don't look at a slant as like a great play. I thought it was a great call to get the ball out of your hand and throw a completion. So hopefully they'll continue doing more of that. But RW says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law, you Gainesvillians are so lucky to have Leonardo's Chicago-style pizza at Millhopper. Nothing like it in South Florida. Seriously, yes, it's a very good place. There's no question about that.
All right, so Shane, you know about those slants?
What about them?
They were on time. They came out fast and on time. Graham Mertz.
No. Hang on, Edgar. Don't sit here and talk to me about throwing on time. I agree. That's why I brought them up. I'm asking, why don't we call those more? We didn't have another slant called in the entire game.
Well, see, I'm not telling you how to play quarterback. I was like praising DJ.
No. That's what I said. I think it was great by DJ. But the reason go ahead. I'm sorry.
Graham is not on time on those as much as you would think. I've seen it in practice. He's always just a teeny bit behind his receivers, man. I know he had all the accuracy numbers last year and all that. DJ, that ball's out. And I mean, it's a one-read thing. I mean, he's not doing anything more than that.
Right.
But those were nice throws, man. I mean,
that's why I brought them up. But my point of the story is we have to call those multiple times in the game, whether you're playing quarterback, I'm playing quarterback, DJ or Mertz. That's my point. We don't call those. What we try to do too much, in my opinion, we want to run the football. I get it. But we try to take too many like shot plays instead of, and which I'm all about shot plays, but shot plays need to come after you complete 7 yards. Here's a 10-yarder. Here's a 4-yard run. Here's a slant. Now let's take a shot. I just think the timing at some of that stuff is off, man, and it drives me crazy. But I'm with you. The ball came out quick, which there's nothing easier than throwing a slant on time, because if you hold it, you're going to get clobbered. All right. So, but we don't call it enough. Now they may call it a bunch and I don't know what Sanford plays on defense, but what I'm trying to get at is those are easy throws. We don't have enough easy throws called. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, of course. And so, you know what you said a minute ago? You said, the timing of like the play calls and all that, right? Weren't we having this discussion a year ago where we were arguing and yelling at each other? He does not have a feel for play calling. I don't.
Which I don't think there's only probably a handful of people in America that have that instinct, in my opinion. I just think they don't fall off trees. People will never change my mind about that. And whether it's Billy Napier calling plays, Russ Callaway, Lane, or Josh Heupel, some people have it, some people don't.
Sure, and you have 62 staff members. And
none of them have it. Trust me, they do not.
But what I'm saying, you have 62 staff members, and then yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can hire somebody, can't you? If you can hire 62 people.
Well,
think you have carte blanche to do whatever you want.
That is true. But think about this. Let's go back to the Muschamp era. How many OCs did he go through?
He had 3, but I think
that's
Charlie
where
Weiss
I'm going with.
Charlie Weiss was forced upon him by all accounts. I wasn't here covering the program then. By all accounts, Charlie Weiss was forced upon him.
But what I'm trying to get at is he had 3 of them, and everybody complained, and we still weren't good because those people didn't have that natural instinct of how to call plays. You got to find that one guy that has that it factor calling plays, in my opinion. And here we are talking about offense, and I totally get it, but we're not very good on defense.
Not very good. 3 teams have more yards against Billy Napier than that the other day, 529, right? Now, in fairness, 2022, Jaden Daniels and LSU had 528. But this was one of the 5 worst defensive performances under Napier. 555, Georgia's unbeaten 2022 team. That was incredible. That Hendon Hooker Tennessee team that averaged 46 plus a game. Best offense in the country that year statistically, 579. And then Jaden Daniels had 701 last year, most against Florida ever. That's it. And you come into this and it's like, okay, all these improvements, we're a year older, we got 3 new staff people, we got the Godfather, Ron Roberts, overseeing the whole operation now. It's going to all come together. New energy from the young guys, Will Harris and Gerald Chapman. Not saying it's not going to improve going forward, but that defense was on its heels all game, and it couldn't even budge Miami's front. It was like they were like barnacles stuck to those offensive linemen, man. I mean, they could not get off blocks. It was like he had all day.
Florida victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help Florida victorious. Mark says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality, Dan Mullen was a good play caller. Yeah, Dan was an excellent play caller. He has that natural instinct to call plays. There's no question about that. Like I said, I don't think there's a lot of them in college football today that do. But he definitely did for sure. All right, Edgar, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. I agree with you. I think Pup Howard was very good. I like him. He flies around. I thought Shamar James flew around, but
yeah, he played well.
If your front 4 doesn't allow those guys to run around and make plays, it's going to be a long day. And we still cannot rush the passer. I just don't understand that.
Well, that's what I was just saying. I mean, they're just stuck to blocks. I don't get it. And the edge guys, I'm not sure who they are. I'll tell you who I liked and I think needs a lot more playing time. And it surprised me, but it confirmed something for me too. Cam James. Last year, Cam James, I was in the indoor. I think, were we talking about this in here? I was in the indoor, and when you're in the indoor, you get to watch a drill. Like you're right there. And so it's kind of cool. It's a little more intimate. And I was like, this kid's get off, his length. I was like, man, this guy, he was getting off the blocks a lot more quickly than other guys. I won't even name them all. But like Tyreek Sapp, they moved at the edge. Love Tyreek. I mean, he's the greatest kid you'll ever meet. But James get off so much superior, and he's 3 inches at least taller than the guy. And I'm thinking, man, this guy's got something. He showed it the other day at 4 tackles. He chased a guy down out in the flats. You remember that? When he closed on that kid? I was like, dang, I mean, that was some closing speed from an end. And he's pretty good, man. I think he needs to play. Searcy did not really do anything. I was expecting big things from him. Justice Boone, now, is he 100%? I mean, he's still, 13 months, not even from an ACL? Might not be quite. But that play he made, the roughing, was a turning point of the game. It might have gotten away from Florida anyway, but you can't do that. And then you go 4th and 5 and incompletion. I didn't think that was necessary either on the 42 to go for it on 4th and 5. Just didn't think 10-3 game. But then first play, you send a red dog blitz, DJ Douglas, and he can't pull up, and you get another roughing. So that's just not disciplined football, man. You cannot, with a margin for error against an opponent like that, making mistakes like that will just kill you.
We got a text here on the Titan More text line from Larry. He says, Edgar, I don't understand why other schools, when they have these top-notch players, they're highly ranked, they play as a true freshman. Why is LJ McCray not starting or playing more?
I mean, I'm not in practice to know, but he did play a lot of first-year guys last year. Let's not forget. I mean, Billy's not afraid to do that. So, I mean, that might have been out of necessity last year, but we'll see. I mean, it's one game, and you're going to have to make changes. I mean, you saw you saw your guy the other day on Pat Dooley's pod, and he's saying, we got to change things.
Well, what he means by that,
you can do it better than me, but right, he said we got to change something.
Well, it's because, and I don't know if they can change. I mean, I try to tell Coach all the time, Coach, not everybody thinks how you do. Your mind is different. That's why he's a Hall of Famer as a coach and a player. But what he did do when we got our asses beat at Syracuse in 1990,
he talked about it.
We came back the next morning at 5 a.m. and we ran the stadiums. The coaches ran the stadiums.
The coaches ran. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you not watch that?
No, I don't watch podcasts.
Well, whatever. It was one that was making the rounds only because it was Coach Spurrier talking about Billy Napier. And it wasn't, people were like, oh, he's ripping him. He didn't rip him. He basically was like, they got to change something. He was disappointed like everyone, that's a Gator. And he was like, we got to change something. So he was questioning the 90 minutes before kickoff being out in the sun warming up. He's like, I don't know why they're doing that. They're just getting guys a little bit tired and worn out in that heat. But, yes, he's going to adapt better than anyone. I don't know that Billy Napier has that gene just in general. Like,
I don't.
He's very intractable guy, it appears. I was stunned that he kept calling plays. And I know we've had this argument a million times. Maybe you think he's a better play caller than I do, and better than I do. I just don't think it's proven out that you said the offense wasn't a problem last year. Go look who they had good games against. It was terrible.
I agree. I guess I probably should have stated it different. I'm looking at the three phases of the football team: offense, defense, and special teams.
What was the
offense
best?
Offense was not the problem when you look at those three. Okay.
Sure.
But the biggest thing to me is, and like when Coach Spurrier says make changes, we would draw plays up in the dirt on the sideline. That ain't going to happen with this crew because everything is so regimented. Okay. But I don't know where they go from here. Again, I still to this day do not understand how a team in modern day football in 2024 has not lined up with 4 eligible wide receivers.
They had 5 one play the other day.
No, that's not 5 wide receivers. Edgar.
Oh, it wasn't?
It's 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back. I'm talking about 5 dudes that are listed in the program that have WR next to their name.
Okay, well, fair.
We've never lined up with 4 of them. And I just don't know how that's possible in today's football.
No, and you've beaten that one to death, and I've beaten other ones to death. And that's the problem. We're still talking about the same things. 26 games in, right? Yeah. Defense isn't fixed. We're questioning the timing of play calls. Some schematic things on your part and other. I mean, it's like we're not talking about special teams this week. Cool, but we are talking about every other aspect. The offensive line, they can't seem to get that fixed. I mean, they're trying to fix these things. Again, though, you gotta let it play out a little bit more. I think, listeners, all of us, a lot of people are jumping to a lot of conclusions, and I get it. It feels like that was a domino to me. It felt like it, right? It felt like that Michigan game with McElwain. It felt like maybe Missouri and Muschamp, where it's like, oh man, that was bad. And this doesn't maybe feel like it's working, but there's still a lot of time to go this season and opportunities.
Yeah.
I sound like Billy now.
Yeah, Robert says just the first game against a much better team. I agree, but it's I think what bothers people, bothers me, bothers you, Edgar, is kind of the same thing that we've seen for 2.5 years or however long it's been. Edgar, we got to run quick. It went by way too fast. I appreciate your time. Let everybody know where they can read your work.
OrlandoSentinel.com, because you can't follow me on Twitter still. I'm trying to revive OS Gators. It's driving me crazy. Can you believe I lose my Twitter account right before a fall camp and then entering this season? I mean, there is so much going on. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on out there. I mean, I'm having people have to tell me. So it's been a mess. But thanks for having me, Shane, as always. We'll do it again soon.
Appreciate your time, my friend. We'll see you in the press box.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan No More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. Hope y'all enjoyed today's program. Appreciate you chiming in. See you tomorrow. Take care.